For Global Business Update, Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning, Michael.
Morning. So the surprise from the Asia-Pacific region this morning is the Royal Bank of Australia, which increased its interest rates by 25 basis points up to 3.85. It had been expected that they would stay pat, but they didn't, and that has actually made people considerably concerned about the Australian economy. Inflation there is still 7%. Much lower than it is, for example, in the UK, but that still is arousing a lot of concern amongst the Australian officials. And Hong Kong, its economy increased by 2.7%. And so therefore it's feeling as though it is escaping from the pandemic. I'm going to draw your attention to some statistics which have come out about China IPOs leading the rest of the world, China and India both, mainly because of the United States and high inflation there. But IPOs up in China and India, down 40% in the United States. Now, China accounts for 53% of the IPOs so far this year. As far as the IMF is concerned, it's bringing up its economic prospects for Asia in 2023. It thinks Asia will lead the rest of the world, up 4.5%, and that's actually good for global growth. But it feels as though the main factors in global growth are going to come from Asia Pacific. US lawmakers, you will have seen these ads now for Shein, SHEIN, the big China retail company. It's going throughout the world now. Big adverts appearing on web pages. US lawmakers have got them in their sights because they're saying that Shein uses effectively wage slaves, the Uyghurs again, and this is against the Uyghur Forced Labour Prevention Act of 2021, which the United States is enforcing on Shein and saying people don't buy their products. As far as Singapore is concerned, let's go to Singapore next. Singapore, record quarter one GDP, and also their leading bank, the DBS Bank, record quarter one profits there. Singapore's biggest bank, particularly retail doing well there, and also being a safe haven for deposits too. So that's actually quite good as far as they're concerned. Now let's recap the United States. So in regular trade, not a lot of movement, but a lot of things happening this week, not least of which the Fed, which way will interest rates go? We're going to be looking at Uber, Pfizer, Ford, Starbucks as being some of the major names reporting this week. Janet Yellen, the US Treasury Secretary, is concerned that the debt ceiling actually will be breached by June the 1st. Joe Biden has called a meeting together of various Treasury officials for May the 9th, which is next week, as a result of this. Okay, the EU now. It's being seen as a bridge between, or rather Italy is being seen as a bridge between Russia and China. But Italy is now saying that it does not want to be part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, this is quite interesting for Italy because not only do they have obviously a new prime minister, but they also, the Belt and Road Initiative, which China wants to enter into the rest of the world through, it was halted by Mario Draghi when he was prime minister in Italy. And now there's a feeling that the new prime minister in Italy will do exactly the same. The feeling is there that Italy's prime minister is worried about the population in Italy and also illegal immigrants. So she does not. There are plenty of things for Italy to think about, but it's certainly going to call a halt to the Belt and Road Initiative. The EU and the EU is also in terms of France. Now, France, remember, the EU is France is very concerned about the retirement rate, and the new Prime Minister there, Elizabeth Borne, has decided, amidst all the problems about the French economy, that she will not address immigration right now because she's very worried about the support that's not coming forward as far as immigration is concerned. UK, HSBC, again, record profits for them, up 212%. HSBC, an increase in rates, reversal of the impairment costs that were actually because they think they were going to buy a French unit there, but no impairment costs there. So record profits for HSBC. As far as the UK is concerned, food prices jumping, inflation 15.7% now in food prices. And remember, food affecting the poorest in the nation. This is continuing. They expect that food prices may well come down. Oil prices, oil's been paring its losses. The BP quarter one results are just out. They're relatively cautious about the future. That's caused their share price to come down a little, about 4% this morning. And gold, well, that precious metal, they feel as though the banking crisis, because of JP Morgan buying First Republic and so on now, does that mean that the banking crisis is over? Who knows? But if it is feeling that, then the price of gold will go down. If there is a feeling of risk, then the price of gold will go up. That is the global view this morning.
Real quickly, should we activate Mayday as regards the banking crisis? Because nobody saw this coming. Most people didn't see this coming. You will claim that some industry watchers saw it, but not at this quick succession. We've forgotten in a hurry that this is about 2 to 3 banks in America that have gone down. And most of them are going down on the heels of the fact that the Fed keeps hiking interest rates and the bonds are really affected. JP Morgan was pretty much begged to bail out First Republic. And if you heard that audio recording by Jimmy Dimon yesterday, it was a lot. It was a lot, saying that, yes, we've bailed them out. This should be the beginning of the end of the banking crisis, but we're not sure. So is this time to be able to trigger an alert? Are those recession fears real? Because America has a way of having a ricochet effect on all of us in the world. Should we be scared that this might be another 2008 in the making?
I don't think it's a 2008 in the making, because that implies a systemic banking crisis. I don't think there is a systemic one. I think that we're going to see more problems as far as the banking sector is concerned, but they won't be as severe as 2008 as the indications show at the moment, because what we hope is that the banking authorities and indeed the Treasury authorities and the central banking authorities have learned the lessons from 2008. But who's to tell? No, I feel as though what the market's slightly worried about, I don't think the banking crisis is over. I think there's going to be more repercussions. And I think that's a general feeling as well. I think anybody sensible would do that, because this rise in interest rates and the way in which inflation is trying to be tamed using this relatively blunt instrument of higher interest rates is something which nobody in the world actually wants right now, apart from countries that deliberately would take advantage of it. However, I feel as though I share your views almost, in as much as I don't think it's like 2008, but I don't think it's a crisis which is necessarily over right now. I don't think anybody believes that.
All right, Michael, let me talk about the food inflation in the UK. I ask because food inflation has gone up to 17.5%, like you mentioned. However, what consumers are saying is that retailers are profiteering because global food prices has come down, wholesale prices have come down. So why is it not reflecting on the retail prices? Even though companies like Sainsbury's have come out to debunk it, saying that it hasn't reflected. What's your take on it? Are these companies excessively profiteering from, raising the cost of food prices, despite the fact that global prices have come down?
Well, I mean, charitably, I think it takes time for the wholesale prices to actually feed through to retail prices. That's number one. But number two, I definitely share your concerns about that. Yes, I think it's disgraceful. And also the supermarkets will be seen to be profiteering at the same time. So here's the two ways they go about things. They know that margins are relatively slim, but they don't want to lose customers either. What I suspect will happen is that we're going to see some pretty drastic price cuts coming up. I think that's how they'll deal with it. That's how they've dealt with it in the past. And I think that as wholesale prices come down, they have a margin within which to do that. I suspect that we're going to see a price war.
Well, JP Morgan won the auction of First Republic. The stock price of JP Morgan went up by 2.1%. U.S. lawmakers are saying, oh, this is evidence of successful public-private sector partnership. But it looks like the market is not excited. In fact, yesterday, the markets in the U.S. dipped. So why is there no excitement? Even with some people saying, well, perhaps this provides a way out of the banking crisis going forward. That's number one. Two, Prime Minister Meloni of Italy. Well, what is likely to happen? You think that, they would pull out of the Belt and Road Initiative, whereas, Italy may be at a crossroads. Meloni had promised that she will offer big investment. That big investment can only come from China. But at the same time, Meloni has been having a positive attitude towards Taiwan, which could be a problem in terms of the relationship between Italy and China. China, on its part, wants a foothold in the EU. So, do you think it will be an easy choice to make? However, by the end of this year, Italy will have to make up its mind. After all, the deal is a 5-year deal.
As I said, I think the start of this process was to do with Mario Draghi and not Ms. Meloni. She's got her own problems as far as Italy is concerned. I don't think that the general problem about Italy is much to do with China and infrastructure. I'm not saying it's not a big part of it. I think much more is the influx of illegal immigrants and also the birth rates down considerably. And there is now, as you know, a fight between two sides of the government actually making tax breaks maybe in Italy for bigger families, because that's where they understand they have a labour problem. They understand that illegal immigration is just fueling crime in the country. That's what they feel, and the fact that people who are actually coming in as illegal immigrants don't get paperwork and thus are working underground for cheaply for cash. And Italy doesn't want that. So I feel as though the more immediate problems, I'm sure that the Belt and Road Initiative will be something which Italian politicians will be talking about, but that's a continuing process. More immediately is the big influx of and that because of what's happening in Sudan, that is not going to go away. Italy has a real problem about that. It's got a real problem about illegal immigration, and it's got a real problem about the fall in the birth rate. And I feel as though that's the way in which she is going to go right now.
Well, thank you very much.
I asked a question about the JP Morgan sale and the reaction of the market. The JP Morgan, the First Republic auction.
I think that was entirely expected over the weekend. One of the other bidders might have come in, but it looks like JP Morgan. No, I don't think the banking crisis is over. I don't think the market actually. I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of the market. I just feel as though they're looking at that, thinking, oh well. That's one solution done. What nobody's exploring is how these two banks will actually get together, what the clash of cultures may be, and all the rest of it. It's a regional bank and an international bank. How will that actually work? I don't know. We will see. But for the moment, it looks as though the concerns have been slightly allayed. But I don't think anybody's thinking that the banking crisis has gone away. Don't think it's as bad as 2008, but I don't think it's gone away either.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much for your time today, Michael.